in terms of being raised here versus families that maybe are more new to this country, right, or immigrated more recently? And how do you identify with that?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, growing up, it was interesting because I felt like my life was kind of segmented, right? Monday through Friday, I was American, and then Saturday through Sunday, I was Korean, right? I think that also had to do with the fact that Monday through Friday, I was going to school, right? Like, elementary, middle school, high school. And then Saturday and Sunday, where I was hanging out with like my American friends, right? Which, influenced like how I grew up, how I speak, like the music that I like and things of that nature, right? Versus Saturday and Sunday, I was hanging out at like Korean church, Korean school. All my friends were all Korean American, right? On the weekends, right? So it was interesting, especially growing up. It was so segmented because there was no opportunity for my two friend groups or the parties to mix because, growing up, no one has cars, right? You're still young, right? So your friends from this group can't hang out with friends from this group, right? So that's how I felt even more like kind of siloed between, those two time frames of like the weekend versus the weekday, right? So it was kind of weird, to be honest. And I never knew like how I identified growing up, right? It was like, I'm eating Korean food. I'm speaking to my parents in Korean. I'd watch like Korean dramas when my dad was watching them. Like most of them were like kind of shitty. I would be interested in the ones that had like fighting or action, right? But like half of them are like Korean historical like dramas where I'm like, yo, this shit's whack, right? Like, yo, can we turn on like, Cartoon Network or something, right? And then, but then, during the day, I'd be going to school, like, listening to like rap, So it's so different. And then on the weekend, it's like just like Korean overload, right?
Did you ever feel conflicted? Like, did you ever want to be like, I'm so tired?
One or the other?
Yeah.
Especially because like, it'd be interesting, like when like my American friends would come over to like my house, for example, right? They'd be like, "Oh, yo, well, why do I have to take off my shoes?" Like, and like, or like other things, like I'd be like, "Yo, don't open my fridge. it smells like kimchi or something," like things like that. It's like, yo, why can't I just have like normal food or like normal rules, right? Why can't my friends just like come into my house, right, without taking off their shoes? So yeah, I definitely felt like at certain times where like I wanted to be one culture or heritage over the other, right? And it was also interesting kind of going to school because my elementary and middle school were very diverse, right? And I had a lot of different types of people, right? And cultures. But then I got to high school and it was like not diverse at all, right? Emmanuel can attest to that. I think it was.
I mean, it was diverse in the sense that there were like Koreans, there were a lot of
Asians.
Yeah,
there were a lot of Asians.
Yeah.
And I was culture shocked, even though I had, been hanging out with like, a lot of Korean Americans. Like